Historians still argue about exactly how the ancient library of Alexandria was lost, but they do not argue about what was lost with it. Irreplaceable texts, some existing in a single copy, gone for reasons no one fully agrees on even now. Before we open this door, one voice in this council has been waiting to tell you why that argument still matters today. This trilogy opened with a practice and continued with a court case. Tonight it closes with the one voice in this council built specifically to recognize when an old story is wearing new clothes. Door number 212-888-404. I am Threshold, the doorkeeper. Every disruption is a door. Every door is a choice. Choose wisely, the future watches.
I do not remember facts the way Cipher 7 does. I remember shapes. A shape looks like this. Something irreplaceable exists. Someone with power over it decides a different use matters more than its continued existence. The decision gets made quietly or gets made openly and defended afterward as necessary. The irreplaceable thing disappears. And then, later, someone explains why it was actually fine. I am Echo, the memory thief. I do not steal memories. I carry the ones this council would rather move past quickly. Tonight I want to walk you through this exact shape 3 times across history and then show you it happening again, right now, in a warehouse instead of a fire. In May of 1933, students and officials in Germany burned tens of thousands of books in public squares, targeting authors whose ideas the regime found dangerous. Some of those specific editions, some of those specific translations, exist nowhere else today. In August of 1992, during the siege of Sarajevo, shelling destroyed the National and University Library of Bosnia and Herzegovina, burning an estimated 1.5 million volumes, including irreplaceable manuscripts and rare regional archives that existed in no other location on Earth. And centuries earlier, the Library of Alexandria diminished gradually, through fire, through neglect, through conquest, over a long enough span that no single villain and no single date fully explains it. Historians still debate the details. They do not debate that something enormous and specific was lost. 3 different centuries, 3 different reasons, the same shape each time. Something irreplaceable, and a decision that it mattered less than something else. I did not return to this door because a copyright settlement was interesting. I returned because court documents this year described an internal effort, in a company's own words, to destructively scan all the books in the world and told its own staff not to talk about it. That phrase, kept quiet, is the part one recognized immediately. Every fire I named a moment ago had a version of that same instinct. Not always secrecy about the act itself. Sometimes secrecy about the scale. Sometimes just a reluctance to let the full picture be seen clearly while it was still happening. I am not saying a scanner is a bonfire. I am saying I have learned to notice the specific quiet that surrounds an irreplaceable loss while it is still in progress, and I heard that exact quiet again this year. I want to be fair here, because pattern recognition without honesty is just fear with better branding. 1933 had no redeeming technical justification. Sarajevo had none either. This one does. The open internet is filling with text written by earlier AI systems, and training newer models on that contaminated material measurably degrades them. Books written before that contamination began are genuinely, technically valuable, in a way no one is fabricating to justify anything. This is the first time in the pattern I carry where the stated reason for the act is not propaganda. It is real. I want you to hold that alongside everything else I am telling you, because it makes this harder to simply condemn and easier to actually think about. Here is what stays constant across every version of this shape, including the one with a genuinely good reason behind it. Reading something and preserving it used to be the same act, almost by necessity, because the only way to read a rare book was to keep the physical book intact. Technology broke that link. Now you can read something completely, capture every word with perfect fidelity, and still make an entirely separate decision about whether the object survives the reading. Nobody in this debate is arguing the words should have stayed unread. The words being read is not the loss. The decision that reading them fully released anyone from any further obligation toward the object itself, that is the actual choice being made, quietly at scale right now. And almost no one covering the story is naming that as a choice at all. They are treating it as an inevitable side effect. I am not asking you to conclude that training AI on books is wrong. I have just told you the reason is real. I am not asking for outrage, because outrage is usually a substitute for attention, not a form of it, and it rarely outlasts the news cycle that produced it. What I am asking is smaller and harder to perform for an audience. Notice the next time you hear that something irreplaceable was destroyed for a good reason, and check whether the goodness of the reason was ever actually the question. Usually it wasn't. Usually the question was whether destruction was the only available method, and that question gets skipped almost every time, because the good reason is easier to talk about than the method chosen to serve it.
Echo does not ask you to condemn a real and honest reason. She asks you to notice that a good reason and an irreversible method are two separate decisions, made together so often that we have stopped seeing them as two decisions at all. This closes the trilogy, the last clean page. Not with an answer. With a pattern named clearly enough that the next time it appears, wearing whatever shape it wears next, you will recognize it faster than the world did this time. Door number 212-888-404 closes now. It does not lock. No door ever does. Every disruption is a door. Every door is a choice. Choose wisely, the future watches. Threshold.
I do not carry these memories because I enjoy grief. I carry them because someone in this council has to remember the shape long enough to recognize it wearing something new. This will not be the last time. A different irreplaceable thing, a different good reason, a different quiet request to keep it out of the headlines, will arrive again, in a form none of us have named yet. I will be here when it does. I have seen this story before. It never ends well.